A very good day to all of you, to my dear brothers and sisters in occupied Azania, also known as South Africa, a geographical position south of Africa. It's strange that almost 25 years after so-called the advent of democracy in South Africa, that the name South Africa has not been changed to indigenous African name and still remains a geographical position somewhere south of Africa. However, the main thrust of what I'm about to share with you, if I may just greet you, I greet you in the names of our warrior ancestors, the Khoi, the San, the Abatembu, the Amaxhosa, the Amapondo, the Basotho, Batswana, Bapedi, the Bele, Amazulu, the Maswati. Our ancestors were great warriors who fought close to a 300-year battle against colonialists, against evil and marauding, murderous Afrikaners, thereafter the English and subsequent many foreign interest groups. Having said that, the four-part series I'm about to share with you, I'm sure you'll find very interesting. What I'm trying to do is to try and make it as short as possible, as interesting as possible, because there's a lot of ground to cover. I'm sure some of you may be aware that last week on Thursday, I was invited by the SABC Africa to share some of my research, information with the viewers, particularly in the light of the ongoing Khoisan conference in Johannesburg. Just at a point, I mean, the vitriol thereafter notwithstanding, on the upload of the video on YouTube, I posted 2 lines beneath that video, directly beneath that video, where I challenged, and you'll see it on screen now, I challenge any historian, I challenge any scientist, any geneticist, any anthropologist to counter argue or dispute or disprove anything I put forward there. Up to today, 5 days later, and the thousands or the hundreds, let me put it that way, I apologize, the hundreds of vitriolic, racist, horrible, typical Afrikaner, domboer messages, particularly on the so-called rebuttal by Willem Petzer. Not a single person out of the 12 or 10,000, 15,000 people who ever watched it, not a single historian, not a single scientist, not a single anthropologist, not a single geneticist could counter-argue what I put forward. So in the light of that, or in the absence of that, we have to then take it as self-evident that exactly what I said is the truth. However, having said that, a few weeks back or 2 weeks back, I challenged Afriforum, particularly Ernst of Afriforum, and Willem Petzer. I laid down a challenge to them, particularly challenging their notions on a few issues. And the few issues were very, very simple. Firstly, I said to them, and you'll see this on screen, both racists in the form of Afriforum's Ernst and Willem Petzer are far too scared to accept my challenge to a public debate to dispel their racist, revisionist history to prove the fact that, 1, whites violently stole land from indigenous tribes in South Africa, and number 2, Afrikaners in particular engaged in massive countrywide genocide against blacks, and 3, Bantu, Nguni, and Sotho-Tswana groups originated in South Africa together with Khoisan. Those are 3 key areas I wanted to challenge them on publicly to dispel the notion that Afrikaners were little angel, were little choir, the choir section. I will prove in this 4-part series, and I'll give you a breakdown how this 4-part series works. First, it will be exposing all of the singular lies of Willem Petzer. I challenge Willem Petzer because I'm going to, on screen, put to you exactly what he says and then give you the history with proven references of exactly how he lies, how he is a character completely lacking in credibility, completely lacking in any integrity whatsoever. And then that's the first one. The second one I want to discuss, the voortrekkers. Voortrekkers from the time that they left the Western Cape as at the end of slavery, because my first section is going to be about Willem Petzer and slavery, particularly, and then the second part is going to deal specifically with the history of voortrekkers. The third part will deal with Ushaka, because I feel there has not been a single black scientist, a single black historian that has had the damn balls, the guts to take these racists on and prove beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt, because there's overwhelming evidence that Ushaka and Amazulu were not the bloodthirsty, psychopathic, pathological murderer and brutal devil incarnate that white people would like us to believe. I am laying down this challenge, and I will prove it beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt with historical fact, with historical reference, to prove that Ushaka A was not a pathological sociopathic killer, number one, that the Zulus were neither either, number two, and number three, that Willem Petzer, who claims that between 1 to 2 million people within the KwaZulu-Natal region were murdered by Ushaka, is a complete fallacy. It is a myth created to ensure that the reprojection of the true murderers of our people, who are the Afrikaners, the voortrekkers, and the Afrikaners as we see them today, were the butchers of our people, who in fact did kill between 1 to 2 million people, and reprojected that guilt onto Ushaka and onto the Zulu innocently. We need to challenge this, and it will be challenged in my third episode. The fourth episode, I will deal with Ernst Roets. I will deal with Kali, what's your surname, Kali? Kriel? Okay, I almost thought Kali Kunsa, that funny boxer. Kali Kriel of Afriforum, and their lies in particular, and the most important thing about land ownership and how Afrikaners acquired land from day one in this country, particularly with regard to how he laid out his case in Parliament 2 weeks ago when he spoke about land there was a barter agreement, laugh, SIC, two, that there was land through conquest. Okay, we will deal with that as well in the fourth episode. But at the same time, during the first 4-part series, we will also touch on many of the lies, and I will bring you back to many of the lies that they are forwarding. I am shocked that these people have the goddamn nerve, the effrontery, to go in front of a parliament thinking and believing that black people must be that damn stupid. They're not a single black person, and now I'm not talking about the EFF, and I'm not talking about the ANC, because all they are interested clearly is what their paycheck will be at the end of the month, and not what is true and what about social justice for black people in South Africa, about a land, the justice, the just reclamation of our land and its resources. More so about the incredible disrespect that the Afrikaners have paid back to us after we have allowed them to get away with genocide, murder, torture, oppression, suppression, arrested development, theft of our resources for more than 300 years. You've got a damn cheek, all of you Afrikaners. You have got a damn cheek. You should be ashamed of yourselves. And we have treated you with such humanity that no human group in the history of in contemporary history has treated you with such deep-seated humanity, and you spit in our face. Today, no further. No more mercy for you. Today you will find that the Jewish nation, the Zionist apartheid state, will go as far as arresting 90-year-old men who engaged in a 4-year thing against the Jews. And you, Kali Kriel, have the damn nerve to say that apartheid wasn't a crime. Therefore, it stands to perfect reason why our dear friend, the Morphy himself, Mr. Willem Petzer, was so desperate in his little rebuttal of saying, these guys were so bad to me. The SABC has slandered my name. Look, we understand Afrikaner men, lots of Afrikaner men are pedophiles. Didn't perhaps one of your uncles fiddle with your bum or something, that he talked like a morphy? Yeah, he said something very bad about me. Remember Brian Ebden? He was the guy that was pestering me on Twitter.
Brian Ebden, the guy from Twitter who was constantly harassing myself and Ernst, posting that white people are all rapists and so forth, and then I had to block him because he threatened to sue me for retweeting another person who who tweeted a news article about him actually being accused of rape. So let's check that out.
Claiming that all of us, all white people are racist, are rapists. I said racist, you dumb Yes, I said racists. I didn't say rapists. Can't you understand English? Simple English. You forced Afrikaans and English on us. I challenge you to go and find anything that I said, anywhere that I said all white people are racist, you damn liar. I'm gonna clap you lekker. Watch, I'm gonna begin like this. That is why you were so desperate to even pick something that was far from the truth. Yes, I was charged with 20 charges of rape and all this nonsense, but all of that rubbish was withdrawn because it had no bearing on reality, and that was also proven. But he failed, Willem. You failed to report that. You just gave one side of the story, where I'm supposedly facing, in the present tense, facing 20 charges of rape, etc., etc. You know it's a damn lie. That's your first lie. So you see, the reason for him lying like this is to set up this scenario that because I'm this criminally minded, criminal element, how can he even debate anything of any nature with me? More so, how can the SABC debate anything with a criminal such as myself? On the subject of criminals, not so long ago, he was very happy to invite onto his live cast on YouTube, Gatvol Cape Townian, one person who by the name of Fadil Adams, is a self-proclaimed drug addict, self-proclaimed thief, self-proclaimed gangster.
Because I'm an expensive druggie, okay? I'm that bra that sold everything I had, and when I had nothing left, I sold everything other people had, and I stole, and I robbed, and I looted for it. That is me, that is my reality, that is what I own.
This druggie, te kop, button kop.
So I'm going to prove that everything this little guy said, in fact, let me just pause here now. Willem, you should stick to this. Too much of a morphy to have played rugby, football, or any other sport, so you stick to blowing that funny thing. Maybe it's your uncle, who knows. So in any event, I want to begin like this, and particularly a live interview that Willem Petzer did with Ronaldo Gous. And when he spoke about slavery, listen to this.
And the whites enslaved them and lynched them, which is absolutely a lie, because no black African has ever been enslaved in South Africa. Yes, there were slaves in the very, very early times, but they were all Malay. And South Africa actually abolished slavery under Dutch rule more than 150 years before Abraham Lincoln did in America. And during that time, there weren't any black people in the Cape Colony. We know about the Khoi. They were definitely there. I'm actually having a very nice...
And I'll show you that this man lacks integrity. He's a blatant liar. And everything he says completely lacks credibility. This is so incredibly amazing. This guy on a live cast like this has the cheek to claim a few things. One, that no black, quote-unquote, Africans, or in fact Africans, he's very clever by separating black Africans and brown Africans. But I'll get to that point. In the first instance, he says, no black Africans were ever enslaved by whites in South Africa. That is a confounded lie of massive proportions. In fact, Willem, for your benefit and the benefit of your really ridiculously stupid friends and followers, on the 28th of March in 1658, a ship of the Dutch East India Company by the name of Amersfoort dropped anchor, and I'm showing you a picture here. You will see a picture on screen with 250 slaves coming from Angola. These people were brought into Angola and enslaved in Cape Town. If you go all the way down to the bottom, later in the same year, on the 6th of May, 1658, one of the slavers sent by the Here 17, the Hasselt, arrived at Cape Town from Guinea, bringing 228 slaves from Dahomey. Dahomey was actually, it was the kingdom of Dahomey, which is in latter day became the Republic of Benin, which is next door to Nigeria, where I am here in Lagos, is our neighbor state. So there you can already see that there were 250 slaves and then another 228 slaves from Africa. But you know, just on the subject of Africa, I'm putting a picture on screen for you now. And if you see that picture now, it's a picture of Adam Cock the First. Adam Cock the First. The reason why it was called Cock was he was a slave at the castle. He was enslaved at the castle. He was born in 1710 and he died in 1795. He was a freed slave. And he was the one, together with you Afrikaners, that formed the Griqua nation as we know it today, after marrying a Griqua woman. Adam Cock was an African slave from Madagascar. But you see, there's another thing here. I want to just show you how sneaky this guy is. He thinks he's smart, but like I tell you, you're not a very smart guy. You're absolutely a bloody stupid guy. This is not your game. This is a picture which he posted on the 26th of March of this year. There you can see, this is Willem Petzer. This is the transatlantic slave trade routes. Notice how there are no slave trading happening in South Africa. Now, what would be the reason for that? I wonder. Are you doing like this, Willem? Yes, sis. But you see, he doesn't show you this picture. This is a really cool picture because that was the Atlantic slave trade. This picture was the Indian Ocean slave. And look at what the history says here. In the early years, 80% of the slaves to South Africa came from India. This included Sri Lanka. Slaves would continue to be brought from India, but over the years, other regions of the world also gained importance. Over the period of slavery, enslaved people came from 4 main regions. Mr. Petzer, I hope you're watching this. Africa, including Mozambique and East Africa. 26.4% came from Africa. Madagascar and the Mascarene, which is Mauritius, Reunion and Rodriguez, 25.1%. The Indian subcontinent, Sri Lanka, and the Indonesian archipelago, which would be Indonesia, which would be Sri Lanka, which would be Ceylon, which in the old days, Java, Batavia, which was Malay. So when you're looking at more than 50% of all the people enslaved in South Africa during the time of slavery were Africans. This proves, Willem Petzer, that you're a bloody liar. That's lie number 2 actually. But I'm going to carry on because you see, I told you you're a liar. This I think is one of the most brutal things, and I literally, and I apologize, I got ill when I read this. I read this a while ago, so I want to share this with you. This was a paper delivered by Muhammad Adhikari, referred to as a total extinction, confidently hopeful, the destruction of the Cape Town society under Dutch colonial rule from 1700 to 1795, and this was entered in the Journal of the Genocide Research in 2010. I want to read, because remember you said no Africans, no black Africans, so now we're going to talk about brown Africans. In commando raids, some men were, with few exceptions, put to death on the spot, while many women and especially children were taken captive. Willem Petzer, Adult males were killed because they were regarded as extremely dangerous and not having much economic value. They were generally perceived to be irredeemable savages who could not be schooled in any useful activity. The chances of escape and revenge on the frontier were simply too great for many farmers to contemplate taking them as forced laborers. San men were generally regarded, I'm just going through this very quickly, menacing. They gave no quarter in battle, in combat, and generally fought to the death. Sun fighters often displayed remarkable fearlessness, throwing themselves into suicidal assaults against attacking commanders in the vain hope of allowing women and children a chance to escape, etc., etc., etc. Nigel Penn partly attributes, who's another historian, which I'll read later, partly attributes their uncompromising resistance to the Sun's bond to their territory because of such an intensely spiritual nature that to lose the land was to lose literally everything. Women and children, especially the former, which is women, were often massacred. The more brutal trek Boers were not beyond smashing the heads of children against rocks or skinning the breasts of women they had killed to make tobacco pouches. Women not killed were taken as servant in trek Boer households or as concubines, besides being used as domestic servants. I'm putting on here, as you can see, you will see the three references from Moody, Record of the Third. I've quoted this guy before, The Come and the Colony, pages 31 to 32. Newton King, Masters and Servants, page 112. Sandy Gore, The Bushmen of Southern Africa, Slaughter of the Innocent. There's a whole bunch of references there, and then Penn, which I just mentioned earlier, Fated to Perish on page 88. This is abundantly clear that San and Khoikhoi people were butchered, the males were butchered. Particularly, there was one case in the Snowberg, which I'll talk about when we talk about the Voortrekkers in my next episode, of how San men were butchered and the women and children, those who they felt was that they could carry with them as slaves, were forced into slavery. Now, people like Nigel Pearce of radio, I don't know whether he's in Good Hope FM anymore. What's this other wanker of Heart FM? Some other guy. They all look the same to me. I come to his name now. I can see his face clear as day. Who always make fun of so-called colored people having their front teeth knocked out. These whites refused. They gave us their own names, like January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, not December, in English as well. We were only people with surnames, so-called colored people, surnames like Africa, Janssen, Slava. When you think you've got these fantastical English European names, it's actually not the name of a surname. Ernst, Slava, etc., etc. These all come from slavery. Particularly our Muslim community, I'm just diverging for a second, who also believe that, you know, they very much also brutally enslaved, Slamdin, Bahadin, all the dins. I mean, there's a lot of Jardin, Din, D-I-E-N, as servants, as a servant. So they were like servants within the house, whereas Khoi and San were servants outside of the house. So when our ancestors who were in captivity and slavery, especially the children, because they wanted to raise the children as apprentices, quote unquote, you should claim, and when the mothers would speak Khoi to our children, they would take a hammer and a chisel and beat the four front teeth out so that we couldn't click. If you saw Django Unchained, you actually saw them doing it in Django Unchained, and I hope I can get the clip. So this was the kind of brutality that they meted out on us. And then this idiot, and I'll play this for you again because you have to listen to this.
When South Africa actually abolished slavery under Dutch rule more than 150 years before Abraham Lincoln did in America.
That slavery was abolished 154 years in the Cape by them, like the Afrikaners, long before it was in America. Mr. Petzer, you bring a horrible curse upon yourself, my dear, whatever you want to call yourself. This is a picture here called Slavery is Abolished in the Cape. On Monday, the 1st of December, 1834, slavery came to an end in the Cape Colony. The move to abolish slavery came after years of opposition within the English Parliament. And then they drew up the Slave Abolition Bill of 1833. There, as you can see, was passed in the British House of Commons and by the House of Lords. And it came into effect on the 1st of August 1834. It only came due in Cape Town of December the 1st. That is why Tweede Nuwe Jaar, you see all the clubs are dancing from District 6 to Buka. That is where Tweede Nuwe Jaar, the genesis of Tweede Nuwe Jaar. But you see, Willem, Moffie Petzer, where you lie again, and this is your third or fourth lie. I will even show you the little funny little blonde, brainless girl of yours. I prove to you she's a liar too. The abolition of slavery was so infuriated the Afrikaners. The abolition of slavery, that when the English stopped slavery in all of the colonies, the Afrikaners were the only people to say, to hell with you. And that was the genesis and the birth of the Great Trek. Peter Tief, if you recall, and I'll prove to you, wrote in his so-called infamous manifesto in the Grahamstown Journal, and I quote, "We complain of the severe losses which we have been forced to sustain by the emancipation of our slaves and the vexatious laws which have been enacted respecting them. Though the abolition of slavery have been historically treated as the main cause of the Great Trek, there were other equally compelling reasons for the settlers to leave the Cape Colony." So, Mr. Petzer, I prove to you once again that you are confounded, racist, neo-Nazi liar. There is no doubt in my mind that everything that spews forth from your mouth is of your little bedtime fantasies. Look, even here, even your...
The contrast was so drastic and sweet. We expected to arrive at a big gate of a fenced-off town. Instead, we drove into the town and realized we arrived when we noticed how neat the town is and how welcoming the people are. The first eyesight was children playing barefoot outside.